My name is Josephine Harlan. I'm 37 years old, a senior financial advisor in Chicago, and 3 weeks ago I stood at the edge of a candlelit private dining room in a Restore Victorian in just outside Milwaukee, watching my younger sister raise a glass of Pinot Noir and tell 40 guests that I hadn't contributed a single cent to our parents' 40th wedding anniversary celebration. My aunt clapped her hands once, sharp as a judge's gavel, and announced in that sugary sweet voice she reserves for public performances, "Let the real family enjoy the evening." My mother stared at her napkin like it held the secrets of the universe. My father studied the stem of his wine glass as if it might shatter if he looked anywhere else. I folded my napkin with deliberate calm, picked up my coat, kissed my daughter's forehead, and walked out into the crisp October night without saying a single word. 60 minutes later, the restaurant manager stepped back into that warm, glowing room carrying a black leather folio. The entire table went silent. Forks froze midair. 40 hearts seemed to stop at once. But before I tell you exactly what happened when that folio opened, let me take you back. Because this story didn't begin in that dining room. It began years earlier, in the quiet, grinding resentment that had been growing inside me like a slow-burning ember. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon in late September. I was sitting at my desk on the 28th floor of a glass tower in the Loop, reviewing quarterly portfolios, when my phone lit up. The caller ID read, "Mom." I answered on the second ring, already feeling that familiar tightness in my chest. "Josie, sweetheart." Mom's voice came through, thin and hesitant, the way it always did when she was about to ask me to fix something. "Do you have a quick minute?" "For you?" "Always," I said, leaning back in my ergonomic chair and closing my eyes. The rain streaked down the window beside me, blurring the Chicago skyline into gray watercolor. "It's about your father and me. Our 40th anniversary is coming up. Your sister Claire mentioned she'd love to help plan something special, but you know how busy she is with the boutique and the kids and everything." I knew exactly how busy Claire was. She had posted 3 new Instagram stories that morning from a spa day with her best friends. I kept my voice steady. "What do you need, Mom? Could you maybe look into a nice venue? Somewhere elegant, but not too stuffy? I hate to burden you, honey. You're always so good at these things." She wasn't asking. She was doing what she had done my entire adult life, gently placing the weight of family expectations onto my shoulders while pretending it was a light favor. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. "I'll handle it, Mom. Don't worry about a thing." "Oh, Josie, you're a lifesaver." "Thank you. And maybe mention to Claire that you're helping? She really wants to be involved." I swallowed the bitter taste rising in my throat. "Sure, Mom. I'll take care of everything." That was the first easy yes of the last chapter of my old life. I got home that evening to the smell of garlic and rosemary. My husband Ethan was at the stove, sleeves rolled up, stirring a pot of risotto with the same patient focus he brought to everything. Our 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was at the kitchen island coloring a picture of our family, stick figures with hearts floating above our heads. "Mommy," Lily squealed, running over with the drawing. "Look, I made us all together." I knelt down, hugged her tight, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "It's beautiful, baby girl." Ethan glanced over, his kind brown eyes softening. "Rough day?" Mom called, I said quietly, still holding Lily. "About the anniversary party. She wants me to plan it." He set the wooden spoon down. "You said yes again, didn't you?" I nodded. He didn't push. That was Ethan. 10 years of marriage, and he had learned every version of my family's silent burdens without ever needing me to explain them. Later that night, after Lily was tucked in, I sat at my laptop in the dim glow of the living room lamp and typed, "Private dining room, Wisconsin, 40 guests, elegant, October." I booked the venue the next morning. The Willowbrook Estate, a beautifully restored 19th century inn nestled among rolling hills and maple trees just outside Milwaukee. The grand oak room had vaulted ceilings, a massive stone fireplace, and long mahogany tables that could seat exactly 40. It felt warm, timeless, perfect for my parents. I paid the deposit from my own account, $200, without telling anyone. I told Mom it was a package deal with a special rate. She cried happy tears on the phone. Claire called me 2 days later, voice bright and performative. Josie, Mom said you're helping with the party. That's so sweet of you. I was thinking we could split everything 50/50ths. I want my name on the invitations too, you know? So everyone sees it was both of us. I stared at the framed photo of Lily on my desk, the gap-toothed smile from last summer at the lake. I thought about all the birthdays Claire had missed, all the holidays where I had been the one driving 6 hours with gifts and groceries while Claire posted about her self-care Sundays. Sure, Claire, I said evenly. We'll figure out the details later. But I already knew I wouldn't be splitting anything. The Willowbrook estate sat gracefully on a gentle hillside, surrounded by fiery autumn maples that blazed like nature's own celebration. I drove down from Chicago the following Tuesday to meet the venue manager in person. Her name was Elena Vargas, sharp-eyed, no-nonsense, with a warm professionalism that instantly put me at ease. Mrs. Harlan, she said, extending her hand across the polished oak desk in the grand oak room. This space is going to be perfect for your parents' milestone. 40 guests, private entrance from the garden terrace, stone fireplace, and that breathtaking chandelier. I walked slowly through the room, my heels clicking softly on the wide plank hardwood floors. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish and fresh-cut flowers. Sunlight streamed through tall arched windows, casting golden patterns across the long mahogany table already dressed in crisp, white linens for my preview. I could already picture my mother's face lighting up when she saw the cream roses and dried wheat centerpieces I had chosen. October 25th, 6:30 p.m., I confirmed. 3-course plated dinner, grilled salmon with dill sauce, herb-crusted tenderloin, and a vegetarian option. Open bar, signature cocktails named after my parents' favorite memories. And a toast at 8 o'clock. Elena nodded, making notes on her tablet. Deposit is $2,200, which you've already covered. Balance due at the end of service on your Amex. Any special requests or difficult guests I should know about? I let out a short, tired laugh. My younger sister Claire will likely try to take full credit for the entire evening. She might even attempt to pay a portion just so she can say she did. Please don't let her touch the billing. Everything stays under my name, Josephine Harlan, host of record. Elena's eyes met mine with quiet understanding. Consider it handled. If anything changes and you need to withdraw authorization, you have my direct cell. Call me personally. I'll make sure the transition is smooth, no drama on your end. She slid a fresh business card across the table, her personal number handwritten on the back. I tucked it carefully into my wallet, right behind my driver's license, like a quiet insurance policy. As I drove back toward Chicago that afternoon, the autumn sky stretched wide and impossibly blue above the highway. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of peace. This wasn't about proving anything. It was about giving my mother one perfect evening where she didn't have to count pennies or apologize for existing in her own celebration. My September bonus had been substantial, enough to cover the entire event comfortably. I wanted her to pick up her fork and simply enjoy, without the shadow of financial stress or my sister's endless performance of generosity. Back home, life continued its quiet rhythm. Lily's school play rehearsals filled our evenings with giggles and glitter glue. Ethan brought home takeout from our favorite Thai place on Friday, sensing I needed the comfort. We ate on the couch while Lily practiced her lines in her princess costume. But the undercurrents were already shifting. That Sunday, I drove out to my parents' modest split-level home in suburban Milwaukee to help Mom finalize the guest list and place cards. The house smelled of fresh coffee and the cinnamon rolls she always baked when I visited. Dad was in the garage, pretending to organize tools while actually avoiding the conversation about costs. I was arranging elegant calligraphy cards on the dining table when I overheard them in the kitchen, voices low, heavy with worry. Margaret, about that $9,000 Claire mentioned she needed for the boutique expansion. Dad's voice was tired, almost defeated. She hasn't brought it up again, but I know it's coming. Shoo, Richard. Josie's here. Don't let her worry. She already does too much. My hands froze over the place cards. $9,000. Again. Claire's emergencies had become as regular as the changing seasons, always framed as temporary, always landing on my parents' thinning retirement savings or, more often, quietly on me. I stepped back from the doorway before they noticed, my chest tight with that familiar mix of love and exhaustion. Claire had always been the sparkling one, the cheerleader, the social butterfly, the girl who could charm her way out of consequences. I was the steady one, the reliable one, the one who moved away, built a career, and somehow became both the safety net and the invisible backbone. Later, Claire arrived in her shiny new SUV, designer sunglasses perched on her head even though it was overcast. She breezed into the kitchen with their kisses and loud declarations. "Josie, look at you, city girl coming to save the day again." She hugged me too tightly, the scent of expensive perfume clinging to her cashmere sweater. "I told Mom we'd split this whole thing. I want my name right there on the invitation. Hosted by Claire and Josephine. People should know the daughters made it happen, right?" I smiled thinly, the same smile I had perfected over 15 years of letting her rewrite family history. "We'll sort the details after the party, Claire." But something inside me had already begun to shift. That loose, frayed thread of resentment I had carried for decades was slowly pulling tighter, preparing to snap. Wednesday before the party, Claire insisted on a logistics lunch at a trendy cafe near my office. She brought her best friend and business partner, a polished woman named Sabrina, who laughed at all the right moments. "So generous of us to split this, right, Josie?" Claire said, stirring her oat milk latte with theatrical flair. "I mean, I told Sabrina how you're always the responsible one, but I've been handling so much locally. The doctor visits, the grocery runs when Mom's back acts up. You know how it is when you're the one who actually stayed close." Sabrina nodded enthusiastically. Claire is such a giver. She really carries the emotional load for the family. I sat there, fork poised over my untouched salad, feeling the familiar burn of injustice rise in my throat. I thought of the late nights I had spent doing my parents' taxes, quietly covering medical bills, driving through snowstorms for emergencies while Claire posted filtered photos of her self-care weekends. Instead of confronting her, I simply said, "We'll settle everything after the party, Claire. Let's just make sure Mom and Dad have a beautiful night." Claire exhaled in visible relief, squeezing Sabrina's hand. "See? That's my big sister. Always so understanding." As I paid for all 3 lunches, again, I felt another quiet click inside my chest. Not anger exactly. Something cleaner. A decision forming in the deepest part of me. That night, after tucking Lily into bed and listening to her sleepy prayers, I sat alone in the living room with a cup of chamomile tea. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. I opened the notes app on my phone and typed a single line. "After October 25th, I am no longer responsible for stories that are not mine to carry." I saved it, locked the phone, and stared out at the city lights twinkling beyond our windows. Something fundamental had changed. I couldn't name it yet, but I could feel it settling into my bones like autumn frost. Cold, clear, and long overdue. Saturday, October 25th arrived wrapped in crisp autumn air and golden afternoon light. I reached the Willowbrook estate 3 hours early, my heart beating with a strange mixture of nervous anticipation and quiet resolve. The inn looked even more magical than I remembered, ivy climbing the stone walls, maple leaves drifting lazily onto the gravel driveway like nature's confetti. Elena Vargas met me at the private side entrance, clipboard in hand and a reassuring smile on her face. The grand oak room had been transformed. White linens glowed under the soft amber lighting from the crystal chandelier. Centerpieces of cream roses, dried wheat stalks, and delicate eucalyptus filled the long table with understated elegance. The stone fireplace crackled gently, filling the room with the warm scent of burning oak. It was perfect, exactly the kind of evening my mother deserved after 40 years of quiet sacrifices. "Everything is set exactly as you requested, Mrs. Harlan," Elena said. "Appetizers at 7:15, main course at 7:45, dessert and toasts around 8:15. I'll handle checkout personally around 9 o'clock unless you tell me otherwise. And remember, my cell is on that card. One call, and I can withdraw authorization within the grace period. I nodded, slipping the business card deeper into my wallet like a hidden shield. Thank you, Elena. This means more than you know. Guests began arriving between 6:30 and 6:55. Cousins I hadn't seen since childhood, old neighbors from my parents' block, Dad's retired coworkers. I stood near the entrance with Ethan's steady hand at the small of my back, greeting everyone with genuine warmth. Lily, in her pretty navy dress with tiny white flowers, clutched my hand tightly, her eyes wide with excitement. My Aunt Vivian arrived at 6:45 in a stiff navy pantsuit, her perfume arriving 2 steps before she did. She hugged me with the enthusiasm of someone touching a stranger. Josephine, you actually made it. I was worried your big, important Chicago job might keep you away again. Work doesn't keep me from my parents, Aunt Vivian. I replied calmly, though my jaw tightened. She patted my arm dismissively and moved on, already scanning the room for the best seat. Claire and her husband arrived at 6:52. Claire made a dramatic entrance, stopping in the doorway of the grand oak room and letting out a loud, theatrical gasp. Oh my gosh, everyone. Look at this place. I can't believe how beautiful it turned out. I spent weeks dreaming up the perfect setting for Mom and Dad. Several cousins turned and smiled approvingly. Claire, you really outdid yourself, one called out. Claire beamed, soaking up the praise like sunlight. She walked the length of the room like she had personally restored every beam in the historic inn, shaking hands, accepting compliments with modest little laughs, and introducing her husband as if he were co-host of the evening. Sabrina trailed behind her, nodding enthusiastically at every word. I stood 10 feet away at the welcome table, signing the memory book in my grandmother's elegant blue ink. Ethan's hand squeezed mine gently, a silent reminder. Let her have this moment for now. My parents entered at 6:58. Mom wore a soft sage green dress I had never seen before, her silver hair styled beautifully. Dad looked handsome in his charcoal suit, the one he had worn to their wedding 40 years ago, altered twice since. They walked in holding hands, something they rarely did in public anymore. Mom's eyes immediately filled with tears as she took in the room. Oh, Josie, she whispered when she reached me, pulling me into a long hug. This is too much. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you, and thank Claire too, of course. I held her a moment longer than usual, breathing in her familiar lavender scent. I love you, Mom. Tell her yourself. Dad gave me one of his rare, gruff, one-armed hugs. Real nice job, honey. Real nice. It was the highest praise my father knew how to give, and I had collected those sparse words like precious coins for 37 years. Lily ran up with her handmade card. Grandma, I drew this for you. Mom bent down, eyes shining. Oh, sweetheart, it's lovely. I'll treasure it. Before Mom could say more, Aunt Vivian's voice cut across the room like a knife. Margaret, come sit at the head table with the real family. The main table is filling up quickly. Mom straightened, gave Lily a quick pat on the head, and followed Vivian without looking back. Lily stood there holding her drawing, the edges already softening from her tight grip. My heart cracked open a little wider. I knelt beside my daughter. Baby, Grandma will look at it after dinner. She has to be the special lady right now, okay? Lily nodded bravely, but her small voice trembled. Okay, Mommy. Will you hold it for me? I tucked the drawing carefully between the bread basket and my water glass at our table near the door, where I could see it all evening, a small, colorful reminder of what really mattered. Appetizers arrived at 7:20. Delicate crab cakes on bright arugula, tiny cups of roasted butternut soup that smelled of nutmeg and warmth. The room filled with happy murmurs and the clink of silverware as people realized the evening was going to be special. Then, at 7:28, Claire stood up. She tapped her wine glass with a spoon, the sound ringing through the room. Everyone quieted. 40 years, Claire began, her voice warm and rehearsed. 40 years these two incredible people have been building a life together. My husband, and I wanted to do something truly special for them. We found this gorgeous venue, worked with the chef on the perfect menu, and made sure every detail reflected how much we love Mom and Dad. Glasses rose around the room. To Mom and Dad, to real family. My mother dabbed at her eyes. My father cleared his throat, visibly moved. I did not raise my glass. I simply held the stem and watched my sister sit back down like an actress who had just delivered her finest performance. Aunt Vivian stood before the applause died. I just want to add something important. Real family isn't the ones who send fancy cards from the city or show up only when it's convenient. Real family is the ones who stay close, who show up year after year, who never put their careers before their parents. Her eyes flicked toward me for half a second, cold and pointed, before returning to my mother, to the ones who stayed. The silence that followed felt suffocating. My mother studied her plate. My father stared into his wine. Ethan's hand found mine under the table and held it firmly. I felt the familiar old wound rip open wider than ever before. But this time, instead of bleeding quietly, something inside me began to cauterize. Hot, clean, and final. I made it through the main course with mechanical politeness, the tenderloin tasting like ash in my mouth. Lily built little forts out of dinner rolls beside me, unaware of the growing storm. At 7:55, Claire sauntered over to our table, wine glass in hand, her smile loose and triumphant. "Hey, big sis," she said loudly enough for the nearby cousins to hear. "Don't be upset you're not at the head table. Some of us actually made this night happen, you know?" Her laugh was sharp, cutting. Sisters, right? Always competing a little. I set my fork down slowly. My voice remained perfectly level. "Go back to your table, Claire." She blinked, surprised by the steel beneath my calm. For the first time that evening, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her perfectly made-up face. The main plates had just been cleared when Lily tugged my sleeve, her small voice trembling. "Mommy, why didn't Grandma hug me when I gave her the drawing?" The question landed like a stone in still water. I pulled my daughter into my lap, holding her close, her strawberry-scented hair brushing my cheek. "Sometimes grown-ups make choices that don't match what's in their hearts, baby. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It means they're still learning how to be brave." Lily thought about this seriously, then whispered, "Are you brave, Mommy?" I kissed the top of her head, my eyes burning. "I'm learning to be, sweetheart. Right now." Across the room, Claire was standing again, straightening her dress, preparing for her next big moment. Ethan leaned close, his voice low and steady. "Josie, say the word and we leave." "Not yet," I whispered back, my pulse steady, my decision crystallizing like ice. "Not until the bill comes due."